I am back. I'm enjoying this. This is my third video in 3 days. I am day, I think 9, of no news. And I've got to say, life's good. Like, genuinely, I have no idea what is going on in the big wide world. I don't need to. What I need to understand and what you need to understand is what's going on up here, because I'm telling you, people, that's where the magic happens. Not in the big wide world. It all starts with you. Let me explain something. This whole video today, as part of the system is the thing that I've kind of wrapped up as to this kind of new way of living, a new way of working, a new way of operating. And when your coping mechanisms aren't working, then what? I'm just going to share something with you. See, before all this, whatever happened 20 odd months ago, I used to go to the gym. I'd go to the gym and I'd spend, 20 minutes driving there. I'd have a rabbit to a friend of mine on the way there, 40 minutes in the gym listening to some hardcore drum and bass. Then I'd come back, have another talk to a friend of mine. And then all of a sudden, we couldn't go to the gyms. I wouldn't speak to my friend, and we'd all kind of withdrawn. Okay, so that old coping mechanism that I used didn't work. So then what happens is I then moved to a different coping mechanism, and that coping mechanism was Nespresso. I was pressing that Nespresso thing, probably 8 capsules a day, bam, 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 Nespresso. And the Nespresso was keeping me hardcore. I had a couple of cans of Red Bull, and I was working, I was plowing my way through it. And then what happens is when those Red Bulls and the Nespresso stop working, or they just keep working, you then have trouble with your sleep. So now you're not sleeping as well. So now you're not drinking as much water. You're optimally, you're not optimal. You're not thinking straight. So you're not eating straight. You're having guilty as charged mini cheddars. Mini cheddars was my thing. I was having up to 3 packets a day to keep myself fired up and focused that I needed to do the business stuff to keep things moving. And then when that stopped working, what was going on was the sleep was playing up, and then all of a sudden you're more stressed, and now you're getting more anxious with work, and you're getting more anxious with your decisions. And then what was happening is once you start going from those coping mechanisms, which, let's be clear, were quite good at the start, gym, water, nutrition, then they moved on to Red Bull, Nespresso, caffeine, mini cheddars. And then when that runs out and they stop working, that's when you start going into the reserves. That's when you start going into the adrenaline that's keeping you up and keeping you going. Now, when the adrenaline runs out, that's when you're in trouble. That's when you start having a nervous breakdown. And a nervous breakdown is just that, is that actually your nervous system has broke down. It doesn't know how to operate anymore. It's frazzled. So if you think about it in terms of having I don't know if you've ever had a computer or a computer keyboard that you spill a drink on. And no matter what you press, it's just all over the show. Boom. So when your coping mechanisms stop working, it's time to change your coping mechanisms. And so many people have been relying on those old coping mechanisms, whether it is mini cheddars, smoking fags, Red Bulls, whatever, right? But when they stop working, that's when it starts causing you a bigger problem. So this whole thing is really about removing the hidden blocks that are causing you to want to use coping mechanisms. Think about it, right? The reason that we're using coping mechanisms is that things are kind of out of control. So if things weren't out of control, you wouldn't be using the coping mechanisms as you are. Get it? So what we end up doing when we do these things is we end up pushing further down the line the problem. And that problem, and one of the things that I always talk about, which is the pebbles in shoes don't magic their way out. And the longer you run, the weaker you become. So think about it, that you're avoiding facing whatever the problems are, the reality of it, by using the coping mechanisms, whether it's drinking, fags, mini cheddars, Red Bulls, Nespresso, and you are pushing that problem down the line. We have been so focused throughout this period to get through this period. And, when I first started this whole thing, as I thought that it was going to be a 3-month period, effectively. And then we're now 20 odd months in, whatever it is. I don't think anyone anticipated that. But what's happening now is the coping mechanisms that a lot of people have been using are now causing them more problems than the ones that it was offsetting. So if you recognize in these words that I'm saying to you, that right now, the coping mechanisms that you're been programmed yourself to use to protect and protect you from the reality, if they're causing you more problems than the one's reality, it is time to change. It's time to stop. It's not going to get any easier. But what ends up happening with these situations is it's almost like what's the word? It's almost like swimming the channel. We swim in the channel. We think we can just keep going. We can just keep going. And we're now tired. And you can choose to go back to shore, or you can choose to go forward. And that's what I urge you to do right now, is to recognize that you need to go forward. And that might mean leaving some of your old life and some of your old world, and importantly, some of your old identity behind. And in a lot of respects, I see a lot of people drowning with what I call gold bars, holding on to the past. I can't let go of these. I can't let go of these. Why not? Well, I can't because they're so valuable to me. And if you don't let go of them, you're going to drown, metaphorically speaking. Last year I had a burnout. I had a 2-week burnout as a result of what I just talked about. Me, Brad Burton. And actually I'm sharing it with you so that you don't have to have a burnout. If a burnout is coming down the line, you're best dealing with it today. Your biggest chance of success throughout all this period is your brain. Your biggest chance of failure throughout this period is your brain. It is so important that you look after this. This is your biggest chance of getting yourself through this. When I look at this whole front that we've been dealing with, this whole 20 odd months, 2 years or whatever, has been about, we've been fighting it financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and digitally. And you think digitally? Yeah, you've been online digitally every single day, responding and doing stuff on digital. That's a world that never existed. That never existed 20 years ago. So now, not only on top of emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, we've got a digital world on top. It was already a packed world before you even dealt with any of that. But now you put digital on it, something has to give. And more often than not, if you think about them, I'm going to just roll it by. I've got them written down here: physical, financial, emotional, mental, spiritual, and digital. You used to go and get a pen right now and put them in order of your preference, or order of priority, should I say, and which ones are you actually looking after. And I say, for the first time ever, spiritually, I've always been considered myself a spiritual person, but I look at it and I think something that we've all overlooked. We've all been so focused on all these other things that we've forgot that bit about ourselves. So think about it from your perspective, okay? You are swimming a channel right now. You've got to get across the river. You've got to get across the sea. You can choose to go back, or you can choose to go forward. The way that you're going to get through this is by going forward. As tired as you are, the way you're going to get through this is by going forward. But I believe that what you might need to do is let go of those metaphorical gold bars in order to be able to get to the other side. I speak to hundreds of people each and every week, and this is very real for so very many people right now. And people don't know where to turn, because ordinarily you turn to your friends, but they're dealing with their own stuff. So you don't turn to your friends. You don't turn to your family. There was times throughout the last couple of years where I was fearful, and yet I didn't show anyone that I was fearful, because that's what leaders do. Leaders are strong until, of course, leaders can't be strong. You're a leader of your own brain. You're a leader of your own life. And there's times when you're strong, and there's times when you're weak, and there's times when you know what's going on and nobody else does. So it's so important right now that you look after yourself on all those levels that I've just referred to. And some will be a priority for you, and some some will be less so, and that's fine. But it's really a case now of you being really honest with yourself and saying, right, what do I need to look after right now? Is it mental? Is it physical? Is it emotional? Is it digital? Is it spiritual? Is it financial? Or is it all of the above? I have no idea. Only you can answer that question. But what I'll say is where we started off this whole the system today was about you with your coping mechanisms. When your coping mechanisms start causing you more problems than the coping, it's time for change. It's time for change right now. And I don't know what those coping mechanisms that you need to change, but more likely the fact that you're tuned into this, because let's be quite clear, every single decision that you've ever made in your entire life has brought you to this video today. I've been talking to you for the last 9 minutes and 20 seconds. It's time to make change to your life, to your world, to your future. All right, people, have an amazing day. Day 3 of these. I'm going to be doing these throughout the month, and hopefully, like I say, you'll share and subscribe and tell people all about it. Have an amazing day, and like I say, day 9, I think it is, of no news. No news is good news. Have an amazing day. Cheers.